thanks so much for being here. My name is Kat and I make houseplant videos here on Good and Planty. If you just so happen to absolutely love this video, please consider liking it, commenting, subscribing, or follow me on Instagram. All of these things help me grow my channel like a plant. Today is a pretty straightforward video. I'm going to be sharing 10 plants that I think look and do really well as hanging slash trailing slash vine plants. Because some plants look good in a hanging basket, but they don't necessarily do that well in it, and other plants you might not think do well in hanging baskets, but they really do. So let's get a pretty classic plant out of the way, and I am talking about the SCINDAPSUS, whatever SCINDAPSUS really floats your boat, but this is the SCINDAPSUS, I don't know how to say it, I'm gonna put the name on the screen and that's that. But clearly this plant grows quite fast and quite long. To keep this plant very bushy, because down here you can kind of see the plant getting a little bit leggy, you do want to do some frequent and regular pruning and plugging, which is basically when you cut off a little bit of the plant, you propagate it, and then you pot it back in with the mother plant so that it gets a little bit fuller up top. This plant does like to stay a little bit moister, but I am so bad at watering this plant. I think because it is high up that I just never get to her. So she does dry out a little bit and her leaves will start to curl in when you know she's thirsty and kind of like took it a little bit too far. But other than that, this plant is pretty flexible in terms of light and humidity and all that stuff. Let me put her back up where she belongs. Okay, the next plant up on my list is one that I've talked about quite a bit before on this channel, and that is the TRADESCANTIA ZEBRINA. However, honestly, this applies to all TRADESCANTIA. This plant honestly won't let you do anything other than let it trail and vine down because it grows so fast. The amount of propagations I have taken from this plant is absurd. It will not stop growing. The problem with this plant that I will highlight is that it does go bald up top fairly easily. And the other problem is that since the foliage can get a little bit heavy, sometimes the plant will break over the lip of the pot. Again, you can trellis it, but I have found that it really just wants to hang out and go down. This is definitely not a plant for someone who is extremely particular in the aesthetics of their plant, because this plant can get a little bit gnarly, but it will give you lots of propagating opportunities, and overall it is a pretty easy care plant. I kind of just wing the watering a little bit. The next plant on this list may surprise you. You've probably seen it if you subscribe to my channel and have watched a couple videos, so maybe it's not that surprising, but it is a DRACA marginata. And this plant is definitely not traditionally put in a hanging basket. It does not vine down. It is a very vertical plant, but it also, you can see, grows out quite a bit, and it can make it a little bit awkward to place on like a desk or a windowsill or a nightstand, which if you live in an apartment is kind of where you shove all of your houseplants. So my solution was to put this in a hanging basket. Obviously, I can't keep it in a hanging basket forever because these plants do grow, they can grow pretty big, and at some point it will not be realistic to keep it in a macrame hanger. But for now, at a 4-inch and probably a 6-inch size, I do really like having DRACA marginata in a little hanging basket, believe it or not. Just a little hack if you have some more horizontal plants. Okay, in the same vein, I'm gonna talk about the spider plant, and this, I have two spider plants. This spider plant is not in a hanging basket. It is way too heavy, at least for the structural integrity of my apartment. I have a smaller spider plant in a macrame hanger up there, but I am too lazy to take it down. So here we go, spider plant. And this is similar to the DRACA thing where it grows very far out and it can kind of get a little bit grumpy if you're constantly hitting it like this. So honestly, I really do like hanging them up and just allowing them to grow freely out. I find that there's a lot less foliage damage when I do that, so I really do prefer to hang these up. But if you know spider plants, you know that they get quite big, so it's not really a long-term solution unless you have like a very well-built house. Oh, also, They really do like light, so obviously with hanging baskets, they can be placed in different areas of the home, but it's very common to have hanging baskets by windows. So all of these plants are gonna do pretty well with that environment, but this plant specifically loves light in my experience and will be really happy by a window. All right, next up on the list is my Hoya Carnosa compacta. One of my favorite plants. I really don't talk about this plant enough on my channel. I really, really love this plant. It is so beautiful, and anyone into Hoya, I'm pretty sure, love this plant. If you want like detailed care tips on this plant, definitely check out my Hoya video. It's a little bit older. It's on the iPhone, TBT, but it is a pretty thorough video, I think, on just like a thorough video on general care tips, but it will give you an idea on how to take care of Hoya. I find it to be a pretty statement hanging plant, if you will. It kind of hangs out because Hoya do like to dry out, so I don't water this plant all that often. The biggest thing with the Hoya Carnosa compacta is definitely bugs, because the crinkles of these leaves are perfect little bug homes. But other than that, like, very chill plant, and Hoya don't like to be repotted all that often, so I kind of just keep him in this nursery pot that I bought him in this cover pot, and it hangs really well and easy, and everybody's happy. Hoya also do like having a little bit brighter light, so again, this plant does really well next to a window. Yeah, I do love this plant in the window. Next up, we have to talk about vining philodendron, and this is the lemon lime philodendron, the hanging version. There's also the upright version. This is a little bit more of a classic vining situation, similar to pothos. I don't have pothos in this list because I felt like it would be kind of redundant to vining philodendron. Similar to the SCINDAPSUS, it does require a decent amount of pruning if you want a very luscious, bushy plant with large leaves, but I kind of just let this specific plant hang out and do whatever he wants. Again, the care is pretty simple. I won't kind of, you know, go over that too much anymore, but it can handle bright and direct light, can handle a little bit of watering neglect, and is very, very beautiful. Okay, to switch things up a little bit, I want to talk about the Black Pagoda lipstick plant. This plant is kind of talked about like it's not a super unique, unheard of plant, but I definitely want to highlight it just because it's one of my favorite vining plants. I don't have this in a hanging basket just because I don't have any other space for hanging baskets. You can see that it's starting to trail down. It grows very long and bushy and beautiful, and it does flower. So all lipstick plants flower. This plant, people are like, it doesn't flower as well as the other plants, but I find the flowers to be very beautiful. And again, very easy care, bright and direct light, all that good stuff that makes it suitable for being near windows. Another plant that I really enjoy having in a hanging basket is the holiday cactus. This, I believe, is a Thanksgiving cactus, but whatever cactus you have, like the Christmas cactus, the Easter cactus, they do well in hanging baskets. And this plant is dusty. I think because it's a little bit more common and sold at grocery stores, the effect kind of wears off, but this plant is so unique compared to a lot of other houseplants that I don't want to overlook its beauty and coolness. Okay, coming in hot at number 9 is the Hoya Australis, and this plant I don't have in a hanging basket, but I do let it kind of jump out of this little plant shelf I have over here, and I think it will be a beautiful trailing plant. It does really well under the grow lights that I have, and I think it would do really well in a window environment and does handle drought pretty well. Again, this is one of those plants where it grows so long and bouncy, as I said, that it can be kind of hard to find like a space for it on a shelf. It would do well in a hanging basket if you kind of want to elevate it, or on like a higher shelf and you want it to trail down, that kind of situation. This would be a really great plant for that, and it's so fun. I really, really love the foliage and how round they are. I had a friend send this to me because she knew that I wanted a Hoya obovata, and since she didn't have one to send to me, she sent me little Australis cuttings. So I love this plant so much. It makes me really happy. Okay, and the last plant that we're going to talk about is kind of like a little surprise, but it is a Haworthia. Believe it or not, I actually really do like hanging succulents. Not just like string of pearl, string of dolphins, those kinds of succulents that are meant to trail down. I do like putting more bushy, compact succulents in hanging baskets because I can place them really close to my south facing window and they absolutely love that light. I know that I'm not the first one to come up with this idea, but I definitely don't want you to overlook little compact succulents like Haworthia when choosing a little hanging basket plant. The only thing I'm gonna say is be careful if the hanging basket is a little bit short and it won't get a lot of like direct top-down sun. Just be careful of that. But other than that, it does really well in my south facing window and it's a little fun, different element than a lot of the bushy trailing plants I like to hang. So I think that it adds a little bit of visual variety. Okay, so that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please comment down below what your favorite like hanging basket vining plants are. That's a working title. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe if you don't already and you want to see more planty content from me, and I will see you in my next video.